There was this movie on TV in 2006 with Zach Braff and Amanda Peet and Justin Bateman. It's called The Axe. And when people try to reinvent extortion exploitation to make it more meaningful and entertaining and fun, the more excessive and compulsive, insidious the invention, the more we lose ourselves in that invention. Okay. And so it's something that you really don't want to do. When you think you're doing something meaningful, and it's all about your invention and your capacity to manipulate matter and then manipulate others through doing so, you become self-destructive to an insane degree, right? Last night I watched this thing on TV about the people mass murdering in Iran. And these people were all talking about it and using words that we used to use, like in parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. Fight for a cause long ago forgotten. Or generals order their soldiers to kill, and polishes a gun and cleans a gun. And they were writing songs for money to win awards and have everybody tell everybody how wonderful they were about talking about peace. And it's like, you don't talk about peace, you live peace. Okay. If all you do is talk about it, you'd lack the capacity to have the faithful kindness and courage to live it, right? All you do is talk about it. You don't talk about when you're kind and you're courageous. Okay, people tell stories about your life before you're born. People write them in books, and then corporations take those stories and turn them into superheroes. So the real human being, the eternal spirit of Adam, Moses, David, Jesus, John, only exists here. And when you're the one existing here and being good and being faithful and being true and being that relative source of eternal communication, it can be very frustrating, And the way the science and the technology is today is, my family prays to hear, okay, all day as if they're talking to themselves. Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. They talk to Jesus all the time. They talk to Jesus more than I talk to Jesus, okay? I leave Jesus alone. Jesus got things to do. Jesus has a life, okay? Because then I'd be sitting around going, Earl won't shut up. He's talking to me 24/7. Jesus always just tells me, Earl, you're living in your time, and you have to, do what you got to, you got to do this. You got to do what you got to do. I'm not going to do it for you. He always would tell me that. Did you? No, I didn't get crucified for you. No, I didn't slay Goliath for David. I didn't lead Exodus for Moses. This is your time, and whatever needs to get done for faithful people to try to live faithful lives, you're the one who's the focal point of doing it. It's like, I understand, I get that. That's why my life story is in the book of Revelation, right? And I think most of you, like the Mark Zuckerberg's out there and the presidents of the Mormon Church and all that stuff. I think they can understand. They should understand by now, but apparently, the Mormon presidents never learned their lessons. So apparently, super tech geeks that have lots of money and access to your privacy, they're not doing anything different than Spencer J. Kimball, Ezra Taft Benson, Gordon B. Hinckley, Monson, and Russell Nelson. They're not doing anything different. Okay? You invade the guy's house, you manipulate everybody with money and technology, and then see how wrong he is. And I already fulfilled prophecy in more ways than one. I was a prophet without even knowing it. Muhammad, he wasn't saying that. He was saying, don't try to sound prophetic. Don't try to predict anything. They'll shit on anything that you try to predict. So instead of a quote prediction, I just had enough of the military, and I said, man, in 8 months I can get myself into really good shape, and in one day you can pull your head out of your ass and you won't. And the prophet done did his thing right. In 8 months, I was in amazingly good shape. I was down to like under 10% body fat. And then I end up in the hospital with chemical poisoning that is accompanied to people that do narcotics and drink alcohol. And then got told by all the people at the hospital and at the psychology, the La Clinica, and at Ben Archer, you need to quit doing drugs. And I would tell them that would be great if I was doing drugs and then I could be okay and healthy and living a long life, not selling Omega XL on TV. And you try to explain to them, and they're okay. This guy's just nuts. It's like this is the most intelligent conversation you've ever had in your life. And because I'm speaking to you truthfully without fear, you think I'm crazy. Okay. Well, life being eternal and grace being infinite, if you don't speak truthfully about your faith in life being eternal through infinite grace, then you're going to think anybody that is more kind, courageous, and faithful than you is an egomaniac or selfish. You're going to think that way. It's just, that's the way love goes, babe. That's the music God made. Just throw those horseshoes over your left shoulder, right? Try not to hit anybody. If you hit it, throw the salt over you. This is the dead man who just hit me with the salt shaker, right? And so, but yeah, I'm sitting there, and it's weird because watching the UFL and all this stuff, and these people, and we're down to 8 teams because a lot of teams folded because they couldn't afford to make the payroll because they couldn't get enough people to pay money to pay them to play football, watch them play football in the springtime. And it still works in Canada, but it's having trouble still working in the United States because they're too busy watching professional baseball, which has a big following, and professional, soccer has, and stuff. And so, but guys, when you're doing something healthy, okay, when you're doing something healthy, you don't need to get paid rocks and destroy the ecosystem. And now they go, oh, well, then what we'll do is we'll take plastic and we'll put numbers on a card, and then you would be aggressive and excessive and compulsive. And the more aggressive and excessive and compulsive you are, the more numbers you get put on your card. Right. And you call that success, right? And people are constantly, abusing and murdering and all the time. It's on TV all the time. I watch the news. Okay. And then they sit there on the right side, this guy goes after and mass murders people for archaic forms of global warming and genocide. Okay, better than any other president we've had in the last, since Ronald Reagan, right? And then on the left side, it's like, oh God, they're so out of control and they're so crazy, they're so archaic. Everybody knows the way to control the population is to fix the ecosystem by being homosexual, destroying your capacity to sexually reproduce, or surgically alter yourself to where you won't sexually reproduce, and then you can just clone your kids because most people don't like their kids because their kids don't like them. Right? You're like, yeah, let's be a liberal. You can edit. The liberals is, since we're all so perfect and so smart and so sexy and amazing, let's genetically engineer ourselves into the perfect relationships for the best sexual. And it's like, and they want us to enjoy their sex lives on TV, which are dysfunctional as hell, more than we try to enjoy our own sex lives in incarceration, indoctrination, and institutionalization, right? And it's totally crazy. It's insane. And when you explain it to insane people, they're like, he's just crazy. That's not true. I'm not crazy at all. I'm the one person in the world that's the focal point that I know of. I don't know anybody else. Of correcting human invention to save the truth of creation from human invention. I don't know anybody else. If there is somebody else out there that's doing it as well as me and as diligently as me and focused on it as well as me, I'll apologize if I make you feel bad. But the winner takes it all. I'm just kidding. But it's an ABBA song. Never mind. But guys, so I know who I am, and I know I'm the focal point of human beings living truthful lives and having faith that life is eternal and grace is infinite, and stop of mass murder through human invention. I know I'm the focal point of that. I've known that when I was a little kid. Jesus explained it to me when I was a kid. You're the guy who's going to help me stop it. And I'm like, Jesus? And it's like, and there everybody's just like, one guy can be the focal point of worship in infinite glory because life is eternal through holy covenants and can correct all human invention by being truthful and faithful to that truth. One guy can be the focal point. One dude with a Samsung Galaxy 10 and an office chair in a remodeled garage. One of the cool things, it was real nice today. It was overcast and cool and breezy. It's cool and green and shady. I was going to go out and do chores, but I didn't. I just didn't. But I get plenty of natural lighting and sunlight coming through. A little less, though, in the summertime than in the winter because I have two garage doors full of windows that I keep constantly open. Even in the winter, yeah, it can be 30 some odd degrees and Earl's sitting here in a coat. This is like my lean-to, more or less. It's a garage, so it's a man cave, right? It was built for my grandmother. My grandmother passed away right there on a rented hospital bed right in where I sleep, right there. Is where my grandma passed away. Okay? And so this, to people that are superstitious, this is a death Hogan. And you're carrying this, and yeah, that's why I'm sick. It's because I'm in a death Hogan. It's not because I'm being chemically poisoned by corporations that keep you rich and getting lots of casino money by writing dysfunctional screenplays about people mass murdering each other over money and not living the Haroso of the balance and harmony of your mothers and fathers, right? It's because of this, yes, obviously. It's obviously because of voodoo. It has nothing to do with being poisoned, being lied to, being abused, and then people accepting that lie and that abuse is reality, right? They've all got... And the thing is psychologists are just like witch doctors, man. Okay? If you put metal to your mouth... Okay, so if we live the Lord's Prayer and park all the cars, bars, and wars and don't go to buildings to accept extortion and exploitation as reality... Lilly, a medicine company. Yeah, and that's going to help us all get better. Take drugs to assimilate to the disgusting environment through economic conflict. We care about you. Yeah, Lilith. That's why I laugh every time I see those Lilly commercials. I'm like, so this is Lilith. And what have you done? Okay. And you're like, what? And then they tried to convince me that Amy was like Lilith. And it's like, no, Amy's a poor little girl. Amy's honey. And when I say that, my dad glares at me like, Amy was a horrible person. It's like, no, Amy's not a horrible person. Amy was stuck in... It's with technology being used by corporations like the Temple Set Illuminati, the Quorum of the 12, the Vatican, the Church of Scientology, right? To study people's lives and get rid of this man-made religion once and for all and have science solve all our problems with the best evidence of learning and, all this crap. And you're like, oh, God, damn, they're so dumb. And the cool thing about the redemption of the Gospels is there always are. Haile Selassie did it. Datiro Suzuki did it. Sun Yat-sen did it. Judah Krishnamurti did it. Even when they went looking for him in all the books, and this is Maitreya, this is Magaibo, this is Rocksop, Diberdop, Jopdop, right? Every time we had somebody that had lots of prophecy that people went to go say, prove it, they did. Okay? They proved it beyond any reasonable doubts. Sun Yat-sen will always be the real deal. Okay? Haile Selassie will always be the real deal. Judah Krishnamurti will always be the real deal. Okay, we have tons of evidence, and Datiro Suzuki, does it pay to be good? No, money's an invention. It's not real. It's good to be good. That's hitting the mark right there. Yeah, that's the real deal, right? And so when you have people, trying to understand, this is 2006. This is when we lived in a when me and Amy moved to Sierra Vista when they was making this movie, and I'm looking at all the stuff, and it's like going back, and it's like going in a time machine. Have you guys ever done that? It's like taking a trip in a time machine, and you're like going, yeah. And the things that are most meaningful are relationships with people, and how we treat the world and one another. That's what's most meaningful. And so, because if you don't have good relationships with people, you don't, your life is pretty much one and done. And you become a monk and you die, and then you have a overpopulated populace because of people trying to rape each other out of existence. And then people will go off and become stargazers and not want to sexually reproduce because they don't want their offspring to be Genghis Khan or whatever. So isolating themselves instead of standing up and having relationships with other people that are meaningful, that make sense because they're based on the truth of our existence. And the faith of that truth is based on reality, right? I'm not neither a monk nor a stargazer bee. No. I like looking at the stars, and it's cool and everything like that. But if you do it too much, you waste too much of the, if you know what life is worth, you look for yours on earth. Haile Selassie is the chapel. He's the only King of Kings, right? Take your troubles to Selassie, right? And he was right. If you had something, if you could talk to him or you got him in prayer, and he truly knew who you were and you truly knew who he was, you would go, Lord Selassie, how do I? And he would talk to you. Earl, a woman that judges you by the sign of her penis is a whore. What do you care what she thinks of you? How dare you judge me because of the regalia I had to do and the things I had to tolerate and had to put up with? And just like, okay. Damn, it's like when I snapped Law's bra and she slapped me in the ear and all I could hear was Shelly laughing in Law's mouth. No, it was cool. He was waiting because I never did. I didn't pray connect. He was waiting. And then when he waited and he's like, Earl, and then he didn't jump me. Don't let them abuse you. Now, blah, 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 blah. Here's what happens, right? It was great. It was one of the best prayers I've ever had in my life. I don't have enough. We never had enough time. I have the one, of course, there's Jesus. Everybody, that's like cheating on the test because we're molecular similitudes. But I don't bug him 24/7 because, I read the news today. Oh boy, right? A day in the life. And so, so you spend a lot of time just trying to survive this hell. Why, when you have somebody else going through hell in their lifetime, why do you want to keep bothering them? Moses was the best at it. I don't care about any of this. I just got to get 50,000 bitching people that want to go back to being slaves from point A to point B. He was the best. Massa wasn't so bad. Massa was terrible. We're going to go back up to the River Jordan and we're going to get the hell away from the Nile. He was terrible. And Haile Selassie supports that message. It's true. That master was horrible. Oh, Pharaoh was a terrible human being. Haile Selassie does not descend from the pharaohs. And the people that build all those monuments to our faithful love and the truth of our existence, they're not like us. We don't build monuments to our insanity. Thou shalt not render unto God any graven image. So don't believe half those people, most of those people in Ethiopia that claim to be the real keepers of the Bible. They're not. They're liars. Okay? When there's a man that's born and he redeems the Gospels and he gets assassinated by people in his own country because they want money, don't listen to those people. They're full of shit. They're cool Modi and the Wild Wild West. Yeah, over and over and again. They're assholes. Okay. Guys, we're judged by the content of our character. We're judged by our faith. Okay, not the color of our skin, not our sexual, not our sexuality or our sexual orientation. We're judged by what we do. Okay, by what we think, speak, and do. and that what you think and you speak lines up with what you do, right? Okay? He's the only King of Kings. To Bob, that was it. It was true. Okay? I don't say that I am. I say that I am the light, I am the way, none unto the faith of Father Abraham, the true faith of Father Abraham, except unto me. Okay. I don't sit there and say, okay, forget about Haile Selassie. He's crazy. It was me, not him. I don't sit there and say, Judah Krishnamurti doesn't have anything to offer the world. Oh, Suzuki, oh man, the man's a liar. Sun Yat-sen, he's full of shit. He just wants to sell you fortune cookies. See, I don't like that. The people that give you videos about Sun Yat-sen or books about it on TV for money for institutions, yeah, they're full of shit. But okay, Sun Yat-sen, no, you get him in prayer, you're getting the real deal, right? But most of you don't get him in prayer, just like Oral Roberts doesn't get Jesus in prayer, okay? And Jerry Falwell, and Joel Osteen, and Joyce Meyer, and Joseph Prince, and Andrew Womack, and Creflo Dollar, and Oodlolly Gully, and the list goes on and on and on, okay? Those people don't talk to Jesus. Jesus doesn't talk to them, okay? I never talk to Andrew Womack. He indoctrinates and abuses the hell out of my sister and her children for money, but we don't talk. It's so funny. We never did talk, okay? When he said, when he had his Bible prayer that he said about, okay? He did have a brief moment there, but it wasn't because the book is not, no, I'm not a book. I'm a human being. You cannot replace God's creation with human invention, okay? When we write down books, when me and John write, I don't write anymore. I don't have to. I have a phone, okay? I talk to people face to face, and I have a phone. And if the people manipulating everybody with technology take the evidence of the gospels that I use on these phones and try to hide them, ooh, is there a place for the hopeless winner who has hurt all mankind just to try to save his own money-making schemes, one dumbass at a time? Facebook's dumbasses. They followed the wrong protocols of Zion. Okay? I have a lot more hope for the kids at Google and YouTube than I do at Facebook and Twitter and what's the other one? Tumblr and TikTok and all the rest of that crap. Okay? The people I have the most hope for, okay, of getting through this and helping us deliver ourselves from evil by living the Lord's Prayer, okay, are the kids at Google and at YouTube, because they give me a public forum, okay, to have a sermon on the Cybermound, right? So I have the most hope I have is for those kiddos, because they're not using linguistics to, and when their eloquence escapes me, their logic ties me up and rapes me, and I'm fixing the algorithms. And I know a lot of people are aware of that, especially Dimas Hassabis. I get him a lot in prayer. And everybody's like, don't do that. No, guys, you cannot lie. Okay? You cannot lie. Okay? And if you withhold information, life is eternal and grace is infinite. Okay? If you feel something and you connect in prayer, you have to say it, okay? And then people will take with it what they will do with it. They'll either accept it or reject it, okay? So I'm not going to sit there and, don't do this and that and that. The best protection that people at Google and YouTube have from crazy people that do propaganda like this on TV, like the X, okay, is me. And if you ban me from a public forum to speak the Gospels, okay, you are what you do, right? Okay, so I'm not afraid of Homeland Security, NASA, Donald Trump, none of those people. Okay, I'm not afraid of them. Okay, I love them. I want them to be kind, caring people that want to share the beauty of the Lord's Prayer to deliver their families and themselves from evil so they can live in holy covenants here on planet Earth till the end of time and possibly beyond. Okay? So I'm not afraid of those people. Okay? And you get someone like Donald Trump, you should be afraid of them. You should be afraid of yourself when you think you need to be afraid of other people that are living the same lie as you, right? That's why I'm not afraid, because I'm not living the same lie they are. I'm being abused by the lies and the abuse that the lies they tell themselves. Well, I'm in this position of authority for a reason, and my life is in the book of Revelation for a reason. And people play to the likeness of Adam, Jesus, John to save them from people, okay, that aren't mentioned in the book of Revelation, but are the cause of the book of Revelation, right? Because if people had accepted and lived the Lord's Prayer, day one, year one, the book of Revelation would have never existed. It wouldn't have had to, right? Books are not necessary, but truth and faith of the glory of creation is necessary, right? Okay, guys, I love you very much. Thanks. It's a good connection. Thanks, Hassabis family. Thank you. And your mother's family, too. I know that, yeah, names change and stuff like that. It's just, in order to have their son, who I met them through, it has to be through that line, right? So, okay. Yeah, I'm so Hebrew, and so that one French girl that was dating the little Buddhist kid at the fort, she said he did this and stuff. It's just my tradition. It's how we don't go up all French and whoo, yeah, we ladies, whoo, ha ha. We go up and we respect the man, and it's nice to meet you. You're quite lovely, So we're more we're very, and then plus I was raised in a indigenous quote Latin community. It's very much respect, Mexicano, respect. It's about respect. So and I relate to that real well, coming genetically from Ruth's line, respect right there. So I'll talk to you guys later. All right. We'll talk some more. Peace out.